I own 2 planes. I have a fleet. Now I share with 12 other people, but.
Anybody else? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6:30, calling the regular meeting of the City of Universal City Council meeting to order. I will be leading us in the, first of all, let's do a quorum check.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick. Here. Councilmember Goolsby.
Here.
Councilmember Putt. Here. Councilmember Rubal.
Hi, here.
Hello. Councilmember Shelby.
Present.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Vaughan will be leading us in the invocation, and I will lead us in the pledge.
Dear God, thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon us, even though we may not always appreciate them. May we all share the joy you have given us with each other this Christmas season. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Be seated. First off, we've got citizens to be heard. At this time, the public is invited to speak to the presiding officials on any matter not specifically listed for public hearings. And we have a few folks today. First up is Miss Kathy Colbert. I'd like to come and state your name, address.
Good evening, I'm Kathy Talbert. I live at 110 Quivira for over 40-something years. Although I am president of the Friends of the Library, I am speaking as a resident and not on behalf of the wonderful group. I understand that a discussion is to be held regarding an inclusion in the solid waste RFP, a requirement for a 1,000 yearly donation to the 4 nonprofits that support city services. I know that keeping costs down is a high priority and your efforts are very much appreciated. $1,000 in today's time may not seem like much, but to the Friends, it's a much needed donation. It's the only one we receive from any business in the community and by far the largest we receive on a regular basis. We fundraise all year long. Conservative number of volunteer hours for the Friends in 2025 is over 4,000 hours. Spend a little time doing that. That's a lot of hours for a group of mostly elderly ladies. I'm one of the younger members. But we can sit at a table and we can sit in the bookstore and we can sell books and help, at the pumpkin patch. But most of those 4,000 hours do go towards fundraising. So our money is so hard earned. Many of the library's most popular programs wouldn't happen without funding from the Friends. Like the senior bingo, the kids' summer learning experience, which for a lot of those kids, it's their summer camp. They will never get to experience a real summer camp, but boy, they can go to all those wonderful programs. Friends recently donated a good chunk of money needed for both the public address system and the security system at the library. We are able to do those bigger things because of a donation like this 1,000. Library is such a vital resource to the community. Those stay-at-home moms, sometimes that's the only time they get out with their kids and they make friends, the kids make friends. For those who don't have a computer or their computer is broken, they can go apply for jobs. They can go pay their bills. Those who don't have a printer can get really reasonably priced printing done. It just goes on and on. That $1,000 donation allows the Friends to think bigger and fund much larger amounts of big ticket items. It's not taking away from the city or residents' money. It's just relocating it to a nonprofit who will use it wisely and assist the library. The library itself runs so tight with their budget. They don't spend useless money. They're trying to get things done and not waste money. And cutting down this donation from the RFP will have little effect on the cost to the residents of their garbage pickup. It will be sorely missed by the friends. So hope you consider this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Talbert. Second up is Mr. Mike Hoffman.
Good evening. I'm Mike Hoffman. I lived in Universal City for almost 50 years on and off, but I recently, 10 years is recent, moved to Windcrest. So I live in Windcrest now, but I'm still active with Universal City with Homes for the Homeless, which is one of the organizations that's in the donation provision that you're going to consider tonight on the municipal solid waste contract. First, what is Homes for the Homeless? Well, it was incorporated on December 23rd, 1974, and has had a working relationship with the city of Universal City since then. The spark plug for the organization was General Blake. His name's out here on the highway. He and his wife Ruth wanted to make sure that stray animals in Universal City had a chance to live and go with a good home. At the time of the formation of Homes for the Homeless, the UC Animal Shelter was a dog pound down on East Aviation, 8 cages in a small building. One of its original operating objectives was to support animal control programs at the shelter there. Homes for the Homeless was later instrumental in building a new shelter at the old Public Works area, or the new Public Works area, an old shelter that opened in March of '83. And when the present shelter was built in 2007, Homes for the Homeless gave $300,000 towards the construction of that. So what have we done for UC lately? Well, from 20 to 24, inclusive, Homes for the Homeless contributed over $211,000 to the operation of the shelter. The expenses include veterinarian fees, microchips, supplies and animal food, leashes and collars, cat carriers, cleaning equipment, food storage bins, laptop, computer for handling the income money, and other items. So far this year, we've shelled out another $42,700. In short, in almost 6 years, Homes for the Homeless has paid for over $250,000 to the shelter's operating costs that the taxpayers of Universal City don't have to cover. Now, this money comes from several locations. Donations from individuals. Estates give money to us. Businesses like what you're going to consider tonight. Shelter adoption fees. Sale of aluminum cans dropped off at the dumpster at the Public Works area. And the interest income from the funds that we take care of. Without donations, Home for the Homeless would eventually die because the adoption fees cannot sustain it. The only recurring costs for Homes for the Homeless are a yearly post office box fee and the cost of stamps for thank you letters. Everything else, no paid employees, virtually no overhead, and our board and directors are all volunteer. The point of this review is that everything comes into Homes for the Homeless, goes back out to the city instead of that money coming from the taxpayers. And I just recently paid a bill, $1,800 to the vet for last month's vet fees. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Ms. Sue Runica?
Hi, my name is Sue Renica. I live at 102 Forest Trail in Universal City, and I'm currently on the board of the Citizens Police Academy, serving as secretary. As of tomorrow, I will be serving as president of this wonderful organization. I recently learned that 1 or 2 of our council members want to refuse a donation to Universal City's nonprofits. These misinformed council members believe that if our garbage collection company donates to our nonprofits, the cost of garbage will be increased. I did my homework on this, and it's simply just not true. The Citizens Police Academy is an organization that purchases and gifts items for the PD, such as gym equipment, TVs, cameras, headshots, and recently t-shirts in the amount of $1,200. We give water monthly and snacks that also cost approximately $325 a month. We volunteer for court, serving about 85 man-hours per month. This saves the city about $3,000 a month. The Police Academy also offers a 7-week course to our residents and business owners. All who take the class are amazed at how eye-opening and informative they are. These classes help build a great relationship between the residents, the business owners, and the PD. The Citizens Police Academy heads up the Blue Santa program for Universal City. This year, we have 142 vetted children that we will be providing gifts for. I've been overwhelmed by the outpouring of help from local businesses, our residents, and our city. Without their support, this program would die. Without this program, many children would not know the joy of the Christmas spirit. The Police Academy holds casino night when we can. This also calls for a ton of support from local businesses and volunteers. This is always a very successful fundraiser, but it's also a lot of work. To turn down a donation from a business who wants to give is ludicrous. Actually, it's heartless. There's absolutely no reason to refuse a kind offer like this. All the monies our nonprofits receive go right back into our community. Imagine our wonderful little city with no nonprofits. We would have none of the above programs, nor would we have our parks, our splash pad, our library. People wouldn't be able to afford to adopt pets. We wouldn't have Snowfest. Volunteers are the heartbeat of our community. Have you ever talked with any of our sponsors? Do you know that they're so giving and willing to help because of the unity of our city? Lastly, I would like to ask, when was the last time that you volunteered your service outside of sitting up there on the dais or attending a ribbon cutting? When was the last time you ever assisted with a fundraiser? Do you have any idea how hard all of these volunteers work for free? Imagine what our city would be like without them. It's incredibly sad to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Renica. Debbie Hernandez.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Hernandez. I live at 8474 Ulysses. I'm a proud resident of Universal City. I also volunteer for 2 of the nonprofits. At the last council meeting, there was discussions regarding the request for proposals for the garbage and recycling services. As part of the contract, it was suggested to include a charitable donation to 5 nonprofits as well as Snowfest. I'm greatly disappointed that some council members are not in favor of this proposal. Companies like Waste Management, Republic, and others have a long-standing tradition of giving back to their communities that they serve, including a charitable contribution clause in the contract, which is not unusual. It would ensure that the nonprofits in Universal City benefit from this partnership without incurring any additional costs to the residents. Our nonprofits are the backbone of our community. They are not just helpful, they're essential. They provide services and funds that would otherwise come from the district budget or would not exist. For example, as a member of the Universal City Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, many of us assist with the court operations on a regular basis. Without us, the city would spend thousands a year in manpower to fulfill those roles. I also volunteer with Home for the Homeless Pets. This organization raised hundreds of thousands of dollars of support and care to the animals that are in the city's custody. Homes for the Homeless Pets contributed approximately $300,000 toward the construction of the current shelter building. In the past 7 years, Homes for the Homeless has provided over $250,000 in veterinary care. We help provide food, medical bills, and subsidized adoptions. Without the support and contributions, the city would incur this cost, or worse yet, the animals may not receive the care that they need. Although some of our council members are very involved in the city's nonprofit organizations, I would like to strongly encourage all council members to become familiar with our city's nonprofit and the vital roles that they play. Better yet, I encourage all council members to get involved. Join us, volunteer, see firsthand the impact these organizations have on our community. Supporting nonprofits through this contract is not just a kind gesture. It is a smart investment in our city's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. And Mr. Charles Levitt.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members and city manager. I've come to represent the 11 families that I was here at to talk to you about the last time. Now, it's funny they would ask me, because a lot of times you hear people being a little bit silly or maybe even condescending about wetbacks. Well, I'm an ice pack. I floated down on an iceberg from Canada. So you can always call me an ice pack and get away with it, and I won't be at all offended. But I have to be honest with you, the 11 families are very, very grateful to you all for voting for us to be able to have an extra 5 years in the county. 2 of the families that I represented last time have been members, have owned property here since 1838, when Seguin was originally named as the
Guadalupe County.
as the home of Guadalupe County. Well, Guadalupe County didn't really come into existence until 1846, 8 years later. But the bottom line is, 2 of the families were part and parcel of that in both of those years. So it was not only are their families or their histories grateful, we are grateful too. As you know, my wife and I own 2600 FM 1518 and a couple of other properties on FM 15 as well. And we're exceedingly grateful for you to be able to go along with allowing us to remain in the county for another 5 years. We would ask one small other favor, that one of the elder members, I want to say elder, being a senior citizen myself of 73 years, we would ask you, if it's all possible, that we could find a way to be able to extend the service that you extend to all of our neighbors to be have the garbage picked up by Waste Management, that we could also have our garbage picked up by Waste Management. We've had odd responses when we called. Both Angie, my next door neighbor at 2613 FM 15, and ourselves have been told that, oh, wait a second, no, you're going to be certified or you're going to be serviced by the company that that handles shirts. Well, that's odd, because people directly across the street and directly beside us are handled by Waste Management via an account with the city. We would like to have that same offer open. We'd very much like to have Waste Management as our service, because Angie, because of her age in her 80s, really would like to have garbage picked up more than once a week. Thank you very much, and appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Levitt. That was the last citizens to be heard. We'll close that out.
Can you add to that list?
I'm sorry, no, we've established that. Next up is city manager's report.
I don't have anything this evening, so we can go straight to staff report.
Okay, go into the staff reports. First up is the golf course parking lot project update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just a really quick update on the construction portion of the parking lot for the golf course. So in May, the May 12th, 2025 meeting, Council approved the budget, the contract for D&D contractors in the amount of $579,222.24. The final billing amount came in at $586,636.16, which is a difference of approximately $7,400. The additional cost for the light poles was $69,172, and the final billing adjustments reflects adjustments for the completed work, materials, and project closeout costs. And again, the light poles were an additional capital expenditure. And that's all I have for that. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll just move on to the financials then. So as of September 2025, the city did complete 100% of our fiscal year for 2025. Included in your packets are the unaudited revenues and expenditures for the general fund, utility fund, stormwater fund, golf course fund, and the fourth quarter investment report as well. At the end of September, the general revenue or the general fund revenues exceeded expenditures by approximately 2.9 million. Please keep in mind that this the surplus was primarily attributed to the 1.78 million that was received from the sale of the land to Chick-fil-A. Ad valorem revenue totaled 9.23 million, which is just slightly over the 100% of the anticipated budget, but that did include $100,000 received from the 2024 disproportionately affected by disabled veterans exemption, which is paid by the state. Sales tax revenue was at 3.8 million, which is just slightly over the 100% which we anticipated for the budget. The utility fund revenues exceeded expenditures by 2.5 million, but please keep in mind, some of these expenditures that were for the last fiscal year still need to be accrued back to the last fiscal year, which will be completed after our audit is completed. Water revenues totaled 5.6 million, which represented 114% of what was budgeted. Sewer revenue is 5.1 million, representing 99% of what we budgeted. And stormwater fund expenditures exceeded the revenues by approximately 329,000, but this deficit would be covered by the fund balance, which is what we budgeted for when we went through the budget process. We were going to use some portion of the fund balance because we knew there would be a slight deficit. Golf course revenues exceeded expenditures by 586,000. There was an admin transfer fee of 325,000 to the general fund, and the venue tax transfer, which was a budgeted of $1,175,000, and that's what we had budgeted, which is 100%. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? And we'll move on. Thank you very much. And now announcements. City manager announcements up first. City manager, you have any announcements?
I apologize. I have no announcements this evening, sir.
Yeah, I will lead off again. I do have a couple of three. Actually, first time we need to recognize our city manager, Kim Turner. She was recently, this past week, honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Alamo Council, ACOG. Area Council of Governments, ACOG. And that award is not given out annually. It's only periodically. The last time the award was given was about 4 years ago. And it was a great honor. I got the opportunity to attend the ceremony, and congratulations. I got a really nice plaque. And she got that same award from the Alamo Area Council of Government, which represents about 80 cities. Next, I want to, our chief and our first responders are not here tonight and everything else, but I want to acknowledge the loss of property with the apartment fires this past week, especially this time of year. And I'm really amazed at the outpouring of generosity from the city, from city residents, businesses, other cities, other mayors. And with that being said, I also want to acknowledge and appreciate the teamwork our first responders achieved throughout this entire thing from the very beginning. No loss of life, total pets, no loss of pets, no injuries to any of our first responders. We had teamwork with 5 cities coming in to help us. We had assistance from Shirts. We had assistance from Live Oak. We had Selma came in, Converse came in, and Randolph Air Force Base responded also. So we had good unit teamwork, and that's kind of what we do as a council. And we budget training, and we budget so that these folks can train together. We even just recently started training with Randolph Air Force Base by making a simple introduction to the two chiefs and say, hey, we're across the railroad track from each other. With that being said, it really shows some really great unity. It's not a perfect world where there are mistakes made. I'm sure there were. That have to be taken care of by the professionals. With that being said, I want to relay it over now to the council. It's by tradition. Whoever starts with the invocation starts with they're up first.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing for me tonight.
Okay, let's go around your way.
Nothing for me tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Come around.
You know I always have something to say. First off, I'm really glad to see so many green shirts here today, because when we did the presentation of our checks from the pumpkin patch, you all were out doing Blue Santa. And I was grateful you were there and not here, but I do want to reiterate again, you all earned and worked hard $1,000 for the time you spent. Without you all, our parking would have been a fiasco. Every Saturday and Sunday, they had volunteers out getting the parking lot going and trying to keep them from not going crazy. Some things are out of your control. And the other was their day at the patch where they volunteered. So on behalf of Parks Partners and the Pumpkin Patch, we're just so proud that you all had another $1,000 that you can put towards all the good that you do. And since I'm talking about UCP, I want to acknowledge that Sue is taking over tomorrow, but as of right now, Mr. Bill Fitzpatrick has been the acting president and has done such an amazing job. I've seen the membership grow. The people in Universal City know who they are, where before it was, what did they do? And they're out working all the time. And so, Bill, you did a great job for the city. He also is very active with the Friends of the Library and with Parks Partners. So this is what makes our community what it is. The residents can be involved in volunteering. They get to know all the other residents, and they work their brains off, raising money where it all goes back into the city. And it kind of brings me to, let's quit picking on the nickel and diming. You know, started out with not wanting us to have a break in renting the hall at Olympia, where we hold our fundraisers. You know, what was the point? You're taking away something that gives back to the city. Then it was, well, our appreciation dinners are too expensive. Well, no, we need to thank you. You work hard, and if one dinner at the golf course makes you feel good and want to bring your more families in and more people and neighbors in to be part of our organizations, we want to thank you. We want you to know how much you are appreciated. And I think we're just tired of hearing the volunteer organizations, the nonprofits. That is what makes Universal City what it is to the residents. Everyone up here comes with their own goals of what you want with the city. We have experts in tech and CPA and architecture and forever in school. And, you know, we've got experts. Mine is the community. Let's keep these groups going. Make people want to live in Universal City. And that's by opening up our hearts and our arms and saying welcome. And let's give them the tools that they need. They only need a couple. The rest of it they do on their own. They just need that door open. So let's let our nonprofits do what they're doing with the little bit that they have to start with. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very appreciative of the presentations and obviously the work done by the volunteers of the city and the city staff and my fellow council members. As a volunteer for 31 years in City Air Patrol, a mission pilot, essentially the emergency service alert officer for that organization, finding the ELT of Kennedy's plane that he just sold before he died in the Atlantic, finding downed aircraft, patrolling the river for anti-counter drugs. 31 years I retired as volunteer. The last 3.5 years since retiring from BAMC. I've been a volunteer in the cardiology service where I've been working with cardiologists for the benefit of the active duty soldiers and retired soldiers. I have gold, silver, and platinum awards, presidential awards for that volunteer service. So just because we're not necessarily present volunteering within the city, please don't take for granted that we don't have a volunteer spirit. And so again, I appreciate all the effort done by the community. As a resident for 44 plus years in Universal City, I do appreciate the city staff and council. I wish we could do things that would benefit our residents and with regard to infrastructure. And there's some areas of the city that need it. And I would just appreciate your consideration in allowing me to express that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Goolsby?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, that's it.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, wait,
Sliver, first they don't have a specialty.
My apologies. I forgot spare. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to thank all of the nonprofits that got up and gave a really good history of the ways that you have improved the community and how much you all give back and how much you save money for each of the areas that you support. And I think that's a significant thing to consider, because by saving that money, you are having an impact on every single resident financially, because taxes do not have to go to support those programs. I also wanted to say I thought the fire had a fabulous pancake breakfast. It was well attended. I appreciated everybody who came out. Know that there'll be another one in May. I hope you come out to that one. The food's not good, but the meeting all of the people is great. It's great fun and it supports the fire, and it's just a really good morning. And then sorry, it's not good. It's just not. And then I wanted to tell everybody, I don't know if everybody knows, but Thursday night is Jingle Mingle down at the golf course. It's a really fun evening where they put stuff, it's inside, outside, it should be good weather, and it's just a really lovely night, kind of Christmas magical. It's kind of like an extension of our tree lighting, so please come if you can. It's from 5 to 8. That's all.
Now I can.
Yeah.
I already did it. There. We'll move on to a consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered routine by the City Council. We only have the one item that's under that one, so looking for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Action item A, Resolution 825A, 2025, First Amendment to the 2016 Non-Annexation Development Agreements.
That is a mouthful.
That is.
Yes, so as I had put in my cover sheet, all of the property owners within the ETJ did sign and notarize for the 5-year extension. So as the staff will go about working, getting those ready and getting them recorded. One of the things that we'll be doing from now and through the next 5 years is in January of every year, we'll be mailing the property owners a reminder of how many years they have left on their non-annexation development agreement, so that there won't be so much time from the start to the finish when they're not thinking about that. Also included within their particular packets that they received, there was a form in there that should they sell or transfer the property, they do notify the city, and the city council kind of blesses that. That way we're assured that any previous or future owners are aware of the fact that the annexation development agreement is in there. And so with all of that, in terms of legal fees, we anticipate recording the legal documents will take us about $2,500. It's $4 per page. There's a lot of pages. And so with that, staff is asking you to approve Resolution 827A 2025, and it only requires one reading.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Thomas, yeah. Mr. Shelby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
just because I didn't read the old and the new, is the verbiage of the 5-year extension going to stay the same, or are we going to have the same discussion in 5 years?
So you can always have the same discussion.
Okay.
That's allowed within the document, but whatever the recitals were and the conditions were and the land use was 10 years ago, it has to continue to remain unchanged. If it does change, then obviously that would trigger legalization.
That would trigger it, right? But some of the conversations that we had 2 months ago over the wording of the original 10-year agreement, so that will stay in the next 5 years on top of that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Pro Tem?
Was the land use all the same on all of the applications? Or have you had a chance to review that?
So we did 2 things. One, we went out and we did site visits from the street, and then we also took drone footage of all of the properties, so we're well aware of what's on the properties. With the exception of one, they were all the same.
Okay.
Mr. Rubal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, there has been something that has changed.
Speak up.
There has been something that has changed with regard to the EJT. Senate Bill 2038. And Senate Bill 2038 does authorize residents to petition for a change in their status. There has, as I say, been a change, and I wouldn't necessarily not expect this issue to come up again in 5 years because of that.
I will beg to differ with you, sir. First of all, the question was, has any of the use of the property has changed? And the answer to that is no, with the exception of one. It had a use, and now that's all been cleared out. The Senate bill that you're talking about also indicates in there that if you are in the 5-mile military installation overlay for a Department of Defense base, that you cannot be released from your duties within the ETJ. And all of these properties are in that, so that has no effect on these properties.
Thank you for your clarification.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Resolution number 966, 2025-11, land donation acceptance, referring 3600 East FM 1518 North.
Thank you, Mayor. Maribel, if you could pull up the site location map, please. So the item we're discussing tonight is a request to donate land to the EDC. And so the property is located on the other side of the creek. It's the 2.5 acres that fronts the Orchard Park subdivision. That's a single-family residential subdivision that was built in the last 5 years. And so as part of that overall subdivision, 2.5 acres fronting 1518 was carved out for potential commercial use. And so we had worked with the property owner and potential buyers, commercial buyers of that property to develop it. In fact, the planning and development was approved several years ago for a commercial strip center. Unfortunately, what the property owners ran up against is that there's a significant cost involved in one, removing the property from the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, and building a retaining wall to make that entire site buildable. It came to a cost of approximately $775,000. And so they did the math internally, and they reached out to Kim and me and asked if they could donate the land to the city or the EDC. This did go before the EDC last month, and they did accept the request, and now it's coming to you for ratification.
And I might just add in, the developer, when they had that property, it was part of Orchard Park. They are not commercial developers, they're residential, which is why the whole development of that particular parcel was not weighing heavily with them.
Any questions? Call for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Proposition, proposition.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Shelby,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item C, municipal solid waste contract donation provision. Motion to change or keep as presented. That is for discussion, and Mr. Rubal, that is your request, so I'll let you open up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and also the persons present. The legal definition of a donation. A donation is a voluntary transfer of property, often money, from the transferor donor to the transferee donee, with no exchange of value consideration on the part of the recipient
Can I ask you to
donee.
speak up a little bit, please?
Certainly. The legal definition of a donation is a voluntary transfer of property, often money, from the transferor donor to the transferee donee with no exchange of value consideration on the part of the recipient donee. Mr. Mayor, the context of what is being presented is that there are many worthwhile groups within Universal City that don't receive donations. It is very strange that a city contract for waste management would include essentially a requirement for donations, and particularly with the history where it was a sole source contract. The action of council to suggest that this may not be necessary, it should be considered that we're not asking for a prevention of donation from any waste management company, but rather that it not be included within the RFP as a requirement for that contract by the city. So there's no exclusion that has been proposed for donations to the very worthwhile organizations with our city. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any comments from city management?
Yeah, thank you. So I obviously had a discussion with our consultants, and I also called our waste management contract manager to talk with him about that. And they both assured me it doesn't matter what trash company you use, they always make donations to cities. And it typically is in the contract according to them. So what they said is that every contract that they have has what they call float. I don't know why they call it float, it must be an acronym for something. But it's basically based on the volume. They know that they will be setting aside a portion of their company's profits every year to set aside to sponsor or donate events, picnics, whatever it happens to be in that particular organization. And that price, even though it's in the contract, it's not worked into the price of the service to the residences or the businesses. It's just stated in the contract. It has no reflection on what your monthly fee is. It's not paid by any residents through their fee. It is truly a donation for those companies. And at the end of the year, they write it off as a donation. So that's just what they told me. The other thing is they said, in terms of float, what they put aside for every particular city, Universal Cities never come close to whatever the float amount is. They wouldn't tell me that for Universal City. And they said, if you're going to enter into a new contract, I'd ask for more.
Any other comments?
Those are his words, not mine.
I guess we had some residents that spoke very eloquently about their nonprofits, and they do a great service. And, I hear the frustration in Councilmember Putt's voice. And I think this is being taken as an affront to them personally and the work that they're doing, and it's not that. My personal thoughts about this is that it makes me uncomfortable to say you must do X in a contract that we're making with a contractor. If I were to say, let's put in the RFP that you need to put $1,000 in my pocket, we would all agree that would be inappropriate. If I said my child's college fund, that would be inappropriate. If I said my foundation, I think that would be inappropriate. So where is that line where it would be appropriate? This just makes me uncomfortable. I think if we said, let's make it $700,000 that we give to the nonprofits, we might all agree in this room that's a little bit too far, and that's a little bit excessive, and that would make us uncomfortable. So I don't think the number of zeros matters. I think it's the nature of what we're doing. And so whether it's 7,000 or 700,000, I think it's a little bit, it just makes me feel like we're at risk of being considered a kickback that we're asking for. Another way that I would say to illustrate is if it's such a good idea, then why don't we put it in every RFP? You know, we're bidding out Persia Drive here to do their street improvements. Why don't we require that street vendor to give money to selected nonprofits? I think we're also at risk of saying, well, why these particular nonprofits and not another nonprofit? I don't want to have to make that argument to somebody if I get questioned about, well, why didn't you give money to XYZ church that's in the community? So to me, it makes a lot more sense to not put it in there. Maybe we do something with the float, and maybe we do a dollar amount that they have to provide in donations to the something in the city of their choosing. Maybe that would be a better alternative than to say it must be this amount for this one and this amount for that one, so that we're not having to pick and choose who's a winner and who's a loser, or having to put it specifically in the contract, you must do X. So my recommendation, I guess my motion would be to have the staff reconsider this and come back with a recommendation for either a number that's in general terms of what the required amount could be on an annual basis, if that's more amenable to the rest of the council. I guess that's not really a motion if I'm going to give options, but the other option would be just to not put it in the RFP in the first place and then solicit the contractor for their float and ask them, hey, we're having this great event come up. Would you please contribute to it? And we have these nonprofits. Would you please consider contributing to them? That would put you in a much better light with us. And that would also be more beneficial to those nonprofits if they got it from them on a merit basis from that vendor saying, we want to give this to you because we like what you're doing rather than a required basis. But I'll finish and let the rest of the council members talk. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I'm going to answer that right here before. Mr. Goolsby, you go first. You got a contractor.
So, when this came up and we said, hey, let's talk about it, I'm like, well, yeah, because I want to know more about this. I want to understand it. So as we learned more about it, what I see from each one of these that's dictated as to what they are groups that are directly, consistently giving back to the city and in all the various ways. And we can make that argument about, well, such and such church does. Well, so does the Barry Goolsby Christmas Light Fund. I mean, people drive up and down my block to see Halloween Fund. But I can't quite justify giving that to requiring that to a religious institution. But I can to the ones that were listed. I can easily justify that one as far as what those they give back and making that a requirement. I don't have an issue with that. But I do like the idea of, no, I'm not going to say it on record. So I don't, and I don't have any concerns with this. And as I've said in the past, I mean, I'm happy to talk about anything up here. Just we'll find out, because if somebody wants to know more about it, yeah, let's learn more about it. Just make sure everybody understands. So.
Well, you hit on it, and what we've hit on it. Everyone gets the same amount of money, but these are groups that are giving back to the departments in this city that they are supporting. UCPA goes to the police. Everyone has a department in this city that when we are talking about the budget, and it helps them, but it's the fire. The donations that came in were phenomenal, and they came in from everybody, but they did not support a department in this city. That to me is the line, is we can say, and every business does this, every business is the way they do business at the end of the year, is they give donations one way or another. We've been doing this for years, but these people are working specifically for the departments in the city, and to me, that's the line. To me, that's what we need to focus on. We can't give it to every nonprofit in the city.
Mr. Shelby?
Oh, I'll let, thank you. I was going to say, I think there's sometimes we really get down into the minutia. We're talking about $7,000 that's very meaningful to all of these organizations. That's not going to make a significant swing on infrastructure, Bernie, to your point during, excuse me, Councilmember Rubal, during your comments. But I will say the $1,000 does go back to the city, and each one of those organizations talked about the amount of money that they are saving so that these departments don't have to spend this money. And that is significant savings to each of those departments that then does reflect down to every resident and the amount of taxpayers, the taxes that they're required to pay. So there is, each of these organizations supports them in such a way. And I do think, I love the fact that Kim, you brought up the fact that this is a standard operating procedure. This is in their contracts with other cities. Maybe it's not with the street vendors, but it is with these waste management companies. And if that's what they're looking for to be included, and that's the language they understand, then we need to speak the language they're speaking and ask for the things that we need to ask for that fit into their realm of business. It's not we're not putting the requirement on them. That's their requirement that they're saying, that should be included. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like something I heard earlier, and I want to make a motion on it. Since we're going to change something, I think we should change it the other way. If we are asking for, we're kind of asking for a low number, I want a motion that we change it to 14,000, to where each one of our nonprofits gets $2,000 and our Snowfest gets $4,000.
Is that a proposal?
That is.
Motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Yes.
I would just, before we do that one, I would just ask what our city manager thinks of the idea of doubling the requirement. I mean, I don't. It's a question.
No, that's fine. I'll go after you. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I just because again, they said you were told you're not even close to what we're worried about.
But I don't know what that amount is.
Let's find out.
If anybody wants our
doesn't
business through the RFP, they'll agree to it, right? We've already had that discussion. But if you think that's the only three things that they do, what current vendor does within the city, that is not the only thing they do. I mean, look how many trash cans they provide for the tree lighting, how many trash cans and months of service they provide to the pumpkin patch, all at no cost to the residents or to that particular charity. So if you want to ask for more, fine. I don't really care, but let's just not be greedy. That would be my first thought.
How many $1 million roughly is the contract?
I don't remember. I'm going to say at least $1.5 million.
Okay, we're talking about $14,000. That's what I'm suggesting. Small number.
Mr. Vaughan.
Your comment to $1.5 million.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Your comment to $1.5 million for a 5-year contract for.
That's per year.
No, sir, per year. I'm going to.
Per year for
residential and commercial waste. They'll probably make about $1.5 million on this city per year.
That's profit?
I don't know if it's profit, but I know that's basically what we send to them. I'm sure they have costs that they have to take out. They're paying for their drivers and their equipment and everything else. So he didn't ask me how much their profit was. He asked me how much their contract value was.
May I ask, of the 10% franchise that we've gotten in the past 5 years, how much that ended up to?
I don't know. That comes to the city. I don't know.
It averages $18,000 a month, more or less. So $240,000 approximately.
Any other discussions on this motion?
Okay, well, I'll go for it, Mayor. I'd like to amend the motion to make it a pot rather than a designed nonprofits.
So who would have the authority? Okay, this RFP is about ready to go out. So who's going to have the authority to decide where the pot goes?
Well, it's their discretion who they want to give it to, but it's a minimum level that they have to provide.
What if nobody requests it?
Who's
Well, they would have to.
Who's they?
whoever the contractor is has a certain, we would be giving them this dollar amount that we're talking about to say you have to annually give this to some nonprofit or the city during the year.
I guess my problem is, have we been doing this for how long? How long have we had a contract in place for the $7,000?
I don't know how long.
10
Waste
years?
management, at least 15 years.
And how many complaints have we had over who we've had waste management donate money to?
I'm gonna ask Randy, do you know how long they've been doing it?
Oh.
I've never known them to not do it.
Have we received phone calls or complaints from citizens complaining about who we're having waste management donate money to? Then I'm not worried about it.
I don't understand why we would ask a contractor who knows nothing about any of our business and infrastructure or the dozens of others to come in and make that decision. I wouldn't trust them what they would come to us to ask us. So why not we just go ahead and tell them up front?
Well, I haven't heard a second, so I guess there's no point in talking about it.
Well, that's just one way of putting it. So with that, any other comments? We'll call for a vote. For amendment?
Which one?
My motion.
We only had one full motion.
Okay.
Okay, 1 second.
Motion, sir.
My motion is that we increased it from 7 to 14. That would be $2,000 per each one of the named nonprofits and $4,000 to go towards the annual Snowfest. And she seconded.
I did.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
No.
Councilmember Vaughan?
No.
Motion carried.
Item Delta, resolution number 966-2025-7, authorizing EDC SIP project 512-520 Bowie, Wright. So, like that is your operation, isn't
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Council. So this item is regarding two properties that are under one ownership. And if we can bring up the site map. Page 2. All right. So this is in the aviation district. This is at Bowie and East Wright Boulevard. And so it's the Kings Plaza and the two triplexes behind the Kings Plaza. And so the
serious question for the moms out there. Every dog.
No, I want to know what the answer is.
It picked up his voice.
That's funny, we usually can't hear him.
That's a new work husband thing. Wow.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I apologize for my outburst.
As I was saying, we have two properties under one ownership, and the Kings Plaza, they have owned that for I think about 15 years. They recently acquired this year the two triplexes behind the Kings Plaza. And so they would like to make improvements to both properties. And for the Kings Plaza, they'd like to install a new wall sign and repave the front parking lot. And then for the triplexes, they would like to replace the existing wooden unit privacy fencing, paint the exterior and repair the trim and soffit, repave the parking lot, which is shared between both. It's the rear side of the Kings Plaza and the front side of the first set of triplexes, and also install a ground sign for the triplexes. They did send out get some quotes. The total cost comes to $61,700. This did go before the EDC last week, and the EDC did agree to reimburse them $31,000 once the project is complete. That's all I have.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Shelby?
I have questions, sir. Thank you. Have we done SIP money for apartment complexes yet? Because I thought most of this has been more on the retail front storefront property, and this is including an apartment complex. All right, triplex, excuse me.
My understanding that we have not given SIP money to apartment complexes in the past. Doesn't mean that we cannot, it's just that we haven't.
Was that discussed in the EDC?
Yes, it was, and the general discussion came down with the proximity of this within the aviation district. That's that.
Yeah, and the discussion lent more towards, some of us felt that we were giving more towards the Kings Plaza side versus the triplex side.
Was there any concern that this may lead to other higher density residentials coming to us for SIP money in the future?
For some of us, there was a concern.
If I could just remind that the EDC goes on a case-by-case basis, so just because others come forward doesn't mean that they necessarily are going to be granted the money.
Okay,
I also wanted to mention that, for these properties as well as the next two SIPs that are coming before you tonight, there are tangibles and intangibles, right? And so a reminder that this property, these two properties are in the aviation district, and it's an investment in the aviation district, which has been a focus of the EDC for the past 5 to 6 years. It's revitalization of that area, in particular revitalization of dilapidated triplexes as they were before this couple bought the properties. Improved curb appeal if they do the remodeling. And we go to the, Giuliani's broken window theory. If we invest in these properties, meeting storefront improvement program, the way they look from the curb, it does have a multiplier effect on other properties and helps increase the viability of that area. And then in addition to that, from the triplex standpoint, they will, by making these improvements, be able to increase the rental rates, which has an overall impact.
And just to be clear, looking at the pictures that they submitted, they've already replaced the fence?
They replaced one of them, and the second one needs to be replaced.
And then they're discussing pictures. I apologize, I'm going to dig deep into this one just because of what I've been presented with. There's pictures of internal remodeling, but that's not a part of this.
And so, thank you for bringing that up. So I forgot to mention that this couple has already, since they acquired the property, they've already remodeled one of the units, and they've made an approximately $62,000 investment in the property already. We're talking about the triplexes. And so this would be in addition to that. But remodeling the interiors is not what they're requesting money for. We just wanted to provide you with some context as to the investment that they've made already.
With them committing to investing money on the internal without money from the city, I can support this. I move for approval.
Second.
Dang it, Phil.
Any discussion? Mr. Rubal?
Thank you, Mr. Michael, did you say fences?
Did I say fences?
Did you say
I did say fences, Mr. Rubal.
Oh, no.
Okay,
Did I open the door there? I hope I did.
Actually, I think the comments of the councilman with regard to the triplex. The real question for you is twofold. One, has the city done actually any cost-benefit analysis? I know we can say it's an improvement, but do you have any hard numbers for what the outcome would be, number one? Number two is because it is in the aviation district, and you look down the pathway here or over on the overview here. Why is it not part of a comprehensive plan for that area? I know that you're limited by the businesses that come before you, but the issue is it's development for the aviation district, and it's sort of a piecemeal sort of thing. So that's kind of a reservation that I have for it. How does this fit with the big thing, the big plan, and is it going to be cost effective for the citizens of Universal City?
Sure. Okay. So from a higher standpoint, we have the Aviation District Master Plan, which provides the framework for that area. When you talk about master planning for the area, these are private properties, and so we are limited on the amount that we can invest in those private properties. That's why we have the storefront improvement program, and they come to us. So it may seem like a hodgepodge approach, but we are restricted because of the nature of the game, and that is private versus public. And so from a public standpoint, we set the framework with the master plan, and then we allow for those folks to come forward who want to make the improvements to that area. And then from an infrastructure standpoint, we can talk about that at budgeting when budget time comes. If if you're willing to invest more money in the infrastructure in that area.
The question is whether the EDC is willing to invest in infrastructure.
Yeah, so in addition to, what I had just said, there are the intangibles that we have to think about, right? And so when we look at investing in these private property improvements, we have to, we don't have any hard numbers that we can project that will substantiate the investment to the level I think you're looking for. We have to use pragmatic common sense. And we think, again, I go back to the broken windows theory. And if we make these improvements, it will help the overall development of the area.
With no idea what the payback time might be for the city.
Well, they have 18 months.
No, not the build time, but the payback time for the investment of the city.
Yeah, again, that's an intangible. I don't think that you could put a hard number on that or give me some concrete information.
Thank you.
Pro Tem?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we're starting to see some of the intangible impacts going on. When we look at the parking lot that we put down between Gather Brewing and Chuck D, my Chuck D, that has been significant to both of those businesses, to the impact that my Chuck D bought the house behind them, which was dilapidated. They've refurbished that. They're making, I don't know what they're exactly doing there, but I'm really excited to see what they do because they've got a great outdoor area that they're building in. And so I think those are the kinds of things, like that's a tangible impact that we have by doing the parking lot. And we have to believe in this plan. We're saying, let's invest. We've been buying up properties, but we are going to have to make little investments here with businesses that come to us and say, hey, we want to improve. We want to improve the way we look. And we're like, yes, that supports the aviation district. We support you. We're going to give you a little bit of money to help you do this and just really continue to see that area grow and get better and make more improvements. So I think I'm so happy that we put in that parking lot over between Gather and my Chuck D, and I hope this is another great investment that has kind of a similar impact.
And Pro Tem, if I may caveat off what you just said, my Chuck D, if you take a look at that picture, the upper right-hand corner, left-hand corner is the little yellow building.
Yeah.
That was a dilapidated building 6 months ago.
That's not my Chuck D.
No, it's the house.
It's the house behind it.
That's the house behind it. Yeah, that's part of their property now. They have refurbished that. They're getting ready to turn it into a ice cream, a Filipino ice cream soda stop with they've got plans in that area. That revitalization started with that parking lot. This is a continuation of that. I'm not going to say that you did this, but you look over there and say, oh, wow, that's pretty, let's do ours. But I do know next to your neighbors is the American Legion, and they are working a very active storefront improvement program also, which is going to be all part of this aviation project. So yes, you want to see tangible, you're seeing cleaner streets, you're seeing cleaner cut buildings, you're seeing modernization, and you're seeing people wanting to come in and invest in our city. So with that, any other comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Shelby?
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby?
Aye.
Councilmember Putt?
Absolutely, aye.
Councilmember Rubal?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Super. Item E, resolution number 966, 2025, authorizing EDC storefront improvement project for 113-117 East Wright.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. So just going to pull up the picture. This is right down the street, other side of the other block, closer to Pat Booker Road. It's a strip mall, essentially. It consists of 3 units at 113 and 117 East Wright Boulevard. And so the property owner, if you can pull up the aerial map, there we go. So Pat Booker is to the left, and the subject property is tucked in between. It's right next to Mam's Cigar, if you know where that is. And so currently, what they would like to do is they would like to paint the front and the side that's facing Pat Booker Road. They would also like to make improvements, repave the front parking lot, but more importantly, they would like to essentially create a parking lot in the rear. And that's, again, tangibles and intangibles. This is the aviation district. It's an investment into the revitalization of that area. It will improve the curb appeal for that property, not only from directly in front of it on Wright Boulevard, but also from Pat Booker Road. And More importantly, which I think is going to be a benefit to the overall aviation district, is that it will provide increased parking for that area. So the property owner has already made the commitment to allow other businesses in the area, especially the thrift shop across the street, to utilize her parking in both the front and the rear. And so, do we have the photos? Just want to show you what the rear looks like. If we can scroll, that's the front of the building. And so this is a snapshot of the rear. So there is an alley back there. So there is access from the side streets. And so that could definitely be improved and provide additional parking for that area. So the quote that the property owner has received was $20,000, and the EDC did consider this and approved a $10,000 reimbursement.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelby.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby.
Aye.
Councilmember Putt.
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item F, resolution number 966-2025-10, authorizing EDC Storefront Improvement Project, 1201 Pat Booker Road.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council. So this is an item that has come before you before, about 6 or 7 months ago. They did go through the EDC SIP process, and they did receive reimbursement commitment of, hold on one moment, $50,000, as long as they invested $125,000 in the improvement of this very old dilapidated property. So if we could pull up a photo, do I have photos on there, Rubal? No? Okay. Maybe the Google Earth can help. You can pull that up. So unfortunately for the property owners, once they got in and started doing the construction, it became a money pit and pretty significant expense override or overcost of approximately $57,000. And so this property is slightly unique. One is it's a very long property. It's not very wide. There's an old building on there. It really, I don't know what could be done if it were to be torn down and rebuilt. It would be constricted by zoning, the side setbacks, things of that nature, access. So revitalization, remodeling of this property is probably the best or highest and best use at this point. The property owner is a long-term business owner in town. They've been renting, it's an attorney's office. They've been renting in town for quite a number of years. They wanted to make an investment and stay in town. And so they decided to purchase this property. And so to keep their law firm here, unfortunately, they didn't realize what they were getting into because, what often happens in these old buildings, you look behind the walls and a lot of things creep out. And so once it is completed, we'll have, again, curb appeal on the main corridor leading into the aviation district. This is 1201, so it's kind of right before the bend going into the downtown area. And again, just to reiterate, it is a reinvestment into a dilapidated property in town. And you can see right there with the aerial, it is a very narrow and long, it's like a bowling alley. It's right next to a church. And so to tear that down and try and rebuild would be very difficult. More than likely, what would have to happen over the long term at some point in the future is consolidation of lots.
Yes.
And both of those buildings would have to be torn down and then rebuilt to something larger. That does not seem viable or feasible in the near future. And so they did request if they could come back to the EDC to see if the EDC would consider some additional monies for their project. The original cost was, again, $129,000. The updated cost is about $187,000. The EDC did agree to increase the amount from $50,000 to $100,000 of reimbursement once the project is complete. That's all I have, sir.
Any questions?
More of a statement, I think. I just love the fact that the aviation district is starting to revamp, look clean, invite other people. You know, we've talked about it for so long and they're going, but nothing going on, or but it's so ugly. And I'm very grateful for the EDC for spearheading this and helping these businesses, because you're doing something wonderful, then the next guy's going to come in and say, wow, look what they did, we can do it too. So thank you to the city, but I think this is great movement, making these old buildings workable and giving our residents places to go. Thank you.
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Mr.
I know, do I have a second? I got a vote on the floor. Okay, Mr. Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do I understand this project includes air conditioner repairs, door trims, installation windows, everything listed here? This is part of the remodel.
Yes, sir, everything that's listed in the
Has
memo.
gone before the EDC. And I think I also saw in here that there was a need to make ADA compliant facilities.
Yes, that is
And
correct.
I guess the question that follows that is, why did it become a dilapidated building, in your words, without ADA compliance?
So the previous owner, I believe, was there for approximately 25 to 30 years. And that probably should answer the question, because they never had to we didn't have inspectors go in there. There was no, and ADA at the time, I think the current ADA was probably in the mid-90s, the ADA code book that we follow. So this building was constructed and occupied well before modern building codes were in place, including ADA.
He had no pre-buy inspection.
That was up to them. The city does offer for anyone who is purchasing a property or a new business owner that's renting to have a courtesy walk. So we'll send our fire marshal and our building official in to take a look at it, put eyes on it, and not look behind walls. They did not accept that offer.
I would love to see this.
They also have the right to have their own third party as part of their purchase process to go and check it out.
And they did not, as part of
I
that.
do not know if they did
Thank
that.
you.
Any other comments? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Shelby,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Mayor Person Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal,
No.
Councilmember Vaughan.
No.
Motion carried.
Great. Okay, that carries the action items. Next item is an item of discussion, and it's discussion only, possible direction to staff, and maybe future action. And it is vape store discussion, and over to you, Pro Tem. That was your request.
I just asked the city go out and find out some information on what San Antonio had done. I would cede my time to have you have that presentation. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's been a while since San Antonio did this, but they, like most areas, have identified a plethora of vape stores and CBD stores within their territories. And of course, it's become a concern for all people because it does have an impact on retail and other development. So as we know, the 89th legislature, Texas, debated heavily on the control of the CBD stores, never did come to an agreement. So now we have two Texas departments doing further studies to make recommendations to changes in rules for CBD stores. With that, the cities are still left open to make decisions regarding standing alone vape stores and where you would like them located and how close they can be to others. So San Antonio went ahead and did that. That's the information that I provided you. Is that option available to Universal City? Yes, it is. If you decide you want to go through and put some regulations upon the vape stores and where they're located. We have other businesses that we previously, or currently and previously did that on. We had the same thing with game rooms. We had a game room ordinance that indicated where they could go, how close they could be to a church or a school or a library. But of course, we recently unraveled that with a couple months ago when we made it so certain locations can have a number of games in their facilities, but we don't allow game rooms per se. The other area where that goes into play, which is for the sale of adult beverages. So we can put controls in on how close adult beverages on-site consumption can happen from a church, a school, or a daycare. And those are different rules and regulations, but that's been in place as well. So it's kind of up to the council on whether or not you want the staff to do a little bit of further research or come back with a outline of what the process is that you would have to go through as a city council, planning and zoning first, city council second, to put some limitations on standalone vape stores.
So Tim, I'm going to ask you, since this was your suggestion, what's your idea within that?
I think we at this point, I mean, whether or not these shops continue to exist is going to be decided at the state and the national level. I mean, we don't have any say in that. I think the say that we have is the control of how they're placed in our community and how close they are to schools, daycares, and churches, I think is important. We do that with liquor stores. I don't think that that's an inappropriate step to take with these types of stores. And in addition, I mean, I don't know if there's other regulations that we can put on there, but I definitely think this is something that we should be considering as a council. I think that's how we have control. Can we also say how close they can be next to each other? How many of them can be, you know, how close you can be to another shop? I don't know if that's feasible as well. I would like them not to be one on top of each other. You know, I would like to have a little more control over what's going on in our community. I think we've got a lot of shops, more than what our residents probably need. I think we've got more than enough to service our community. So that's my thoughts.
Mr. Goolsby.
I really appreciate, the idea of, of both things that she was talking about. Number one, that 1,000 foot, and number two, is it 1,000 feet or is it 300 feet?
No, okay, so San Antonio did 1,000 feet. But you can choose the distance that you want.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
And it's also, if you read it, there's some fine line on how you measure that. So some laws and some state laws and some city laws, it's from property corner to property corner. Others, it's as the crow flies. Some of them are within a 1,000 foot radius. So all of that would need to get fleshed out. How do you want to measure it?
And then there are, and I just lost a name. Can you regulate as a city? I don't want you to sell X there. X, not X, but as a certain thing, item that they sell, a certain type of vape. Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Don't come knocking. That's all. I just wanted to.
That's like saying, can we say we can only have 8, Italian restaurants in the city and 1 brewery, and you don't do that. That's free market.
Yeah, but
The market kind of demands what they sell. Now, of course, a lot of these places sell the same types of products, so I don't know much about vaping, but.
It's an adult way of doing this. But cool, thanks.
That's good.
I'm out. Gotta find somebody else now.
First call it wrong name.
Sorry, Shelby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest things, I'm gonna ramble for a minute, so I'm gonna opine on this. Stay with me, but I think one of the biggest things that sticks with me on the vape shops is that they're just so incredibly loud when you drive by them. They're in your face. And I know why there's so many of them is because there's so much demand. Now, you were saying we can't, and I just want to make sure I heard you correctly, we can't regulate the amount of vape shops that we have in the city. So we couldn't say no more than 10.
No, you can do that by regulating their placement
Okay.
in the city.
But we're talking mostly about standalone vape shops, and I'm just going to ask the question, so convenience stores sell vape materials as well, and they won't fall under this regulation because they are not a standalone.
They're not being a standalone, that's not their primary business.
Right, but
Typically, Walmart sells them, CVS sells them, but that's not their primary business.
right, but I guess the question is, are we trying to limit access to the people that can? We talk about keeping away from schools and churches. We think about, are people going to leave those locations and go to those facilities and patronize those facilities? right? But if you have a convenience store right next to at your school or a church, or within that general area, they can just do the same thing with that kind of business.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not disagreeing with your point, but I also think that since they're not a liquor store, right? They aren't the only ones selling vaping. I'm not so sure, other than what I would say is making sure that we spread them out enough that they're not sitting on top of each other. Because I think that's probably the bigger problem that I see when I drive down the city is that, you know, we come out of UC Boulevard, there's one next to the laundromat. And then there's one a little bit further down that used to be a auto parts store. And then you've got another one that is a CBD and a vape shop that's a little bit further down on the right that if I go back far enough, I think that was a video store. And then there's another one on the left side. So I understand there's a lot of them. And so I'm almost wondering if we're going to go down the regulation standpoint and we're trying to limit maybe how many they are, we can do that indirectly by specifying how close they can be to each other. Chasing down how far they are, how close they are to a church or a school might be a little bit, that's what I'm looking for. I don't know, I guess unnecessary. It's not going to, protect in a way that, that's not the word I want either, but it's not really going to stop them from being able to drive a couple more blocks down and go to a convenience store. Or there may be a convenience store already right there within that distance. I'd be more on the line of, we know Pat Booker Road is roughly 4 miles long or something like that.
3.1 miles each direction.
That's so close. Okay. And we just break that in and just do the math on.
So don't focus on Pat Booker Road because you still have Loop 1604 where you have vape stores. Kitty Hawk Middle School, if anybody's been there when those kids are on lunch break or whatever, it's an open campus. Their trail to all of the stores in that area is quite large, so it would prevent one from going there where those students have it. Again, I know.
But they can go to QT from Kitty Hawk.
That is correct.
So it really wouldn't, putting a limit on having a vape store within a certain feet of Kitty Hawk would not stop them from walking up to the QT.
Correct.
So that's why I'm saying in fact, I'm glad you brought that one up because that's a great example where I don't think if we're targeting vape.
It's not necessarily the vape, it's the THC and I'm not sure that is sold in as much at those, I don't know.
If we're talking THC, that's a different conversation, I think.
That is a different conversation.
I'm all about THC.
I don't know if there's THC in vapes, I apologize.
There are some stores that do sell it, but I don't know what the state's regulation, I'm sorry, I'm going along. I don't know what the state's regulation is on a CBD, potentially Delta 8, Delta 9 THC store being within a certain distance of a school.
So they're still working on it. That's, when you read the San Antonio one, they were talking about the outcome of the 89th legislature, and that's because they know that the 89th legislature was focusing very much on CBD and THC, more in particular medical marijuana, as they like to call it, a state licensed dispensary. So they went through all 4 sessions that they had, couldn't come to an agreement. So the agreement came out to that there are separate departments within the state that are doing their own studies and coming up with their own regulations on how to regulate CBD stores and THC. So it did not make it into the San Antonio one because the legislature still hadn't.
I think if we were going to look at this, we look at vape as just vape being a either 0% or up to, I think it's 18 of nicotine type store. They're selling vapes that have nicotine in them and not CBD, THC as one type of business, and then a business that includes THC, CBD as a separate business, and we'd have to have a different conversation, but to have them as 2 separate rule sets so that we can be restrictive where we need to be restrictive, probably more restrictive, and a little bit less restrictive where it doesn't matter if we stop a store from going down the street from Kitty Hawk because they can just go to QT. That's it, thank you.
Well, I have a question for myself and maybe the general public also. Is the emphasis to restrict the number of freestanding stores, not general stores, the Office of General, a large amount of things, but actually restrict the number of stores that listen to one business.
For me, I feel like we're behind the eight ball, and that we now have vape stores and CBD shops that have thrown up in our community. And I would like to put some control and some rules behind that so that we end up creating an environment that our community can exist in. And I think the vape, I understand your thought with the vape shop. My focus was really on kind of CBD, and the vape shop was just an easy way to put some control in there on ruling the location. But I think if we looking at those as two different entities and putting up some rules on both of those business types, I think that is a good conversation for us to have up here and for us to look for council to give the city some guidance on what we'd like to see and what regulations we'd like to approve.
Mr. Shelby, thank you. Because he had his hand up. To Mr. Shelby, if you look at the page 133 of your packet on the city of San Antonio and the definition, a lot of this is going to come down to definitions. I just wanted to have that conversation with you. Is that they put a vape shop is considered a vape shop whether or not the vapor contains nicotine or disposable cartridges of some other form. So I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Sorry, what was the second?
Go to page 133.
I'll have to wait for my computer to come back up,
Definition of vape
sorry.
shop.
I jumped ahead on closing myself.
I guess my general conversation is that, and I can see you're doing it already, because it's no different than what San Antonio did, is they kind of came down to how far and how do we define it. And I think that's kind of the conversation that you're having this evening.
I think if you sell CBD, THC, you have an opportunity to put it in a vape, right? And so if you have a vape shop that's doing both vape and THC, CBD, then that is one type of store to me. If you are just selling, Monster Vape used to be in the I used to vape, sorry, a long time ago. Monster Vape used to be in the Forum, and all they sold was vape. You can go in, you get your flavor, how much THC you want, I'm sorry, how much, I swear, I'm tired, it's 8 o'clock, sorry. How much nicotine you want, your flavor, how much nicotine you want, and they mix it, and then you walk out the door. It's a custom mix, like you're not buying pre-packaged things, because you can mix and match the flavors if you wanted to, and then they sell all the supplies for the vaping as well. But they didn't sell THC products or CBD products. And so what I've seen is, yes, that has kind of been intermingled in that, you can go to the vape shop and you can get some CBD, which in my mind changes the class of, it's not a legal term, but in my mind changes the classification. Okay, now this is a shop that is potentially selling products that we really don't want being sold within 1,000 foot of a school. And that just comes down to, then we get into how does the city police that? We have to go, any shop that opens up, we have to make sure we know what they're going to be selling in that store, and therefore if we know that you're going to be selling CBD or THC products, you're not going to go within X amount of feet of a school in the city of Universal City. But if you're just a vape shop and you do nicotine and that's it, that's a separate entity and can fall under slightly different rules. I think that's kind of where I'm going on that, is if we're going to do that, let's split them up. Because who knows what's going to happen to THC? I mean, it's...
Your comment is ditto. May I make a suggestion that Mr. Shelby, you and Pro Tem, and maybe get one or two other folks to sit down and kind of work out a rough draft of a proposal. Can I work on
I've got another comment.
Okay.
Can we just do a field trip?
You want to go to a budget?
I think as a
You're gonna put us on the short bus?
Wear clothes that you don't mind burning.
I think Mr. Goolsby should be part of that team for a field trip.
He'll be our scout.
Yes, we'd be happy to do that.
And city manager, would that be appropriate?
Yeah, I want to remind you of one thing though, because if we bring something back to you, it hasn't been vetted through the Planning and Zoning Commission, so you have to understand that this is actually a modification to your zoning ordinance, and the charter requires that it goes to the Planning and Zoning Commission first, and then they forward a recommendation onto you. So if you're asking us to prepare for a change in the zoning ordinance with more restrictions in terms of placement and the sales volume for vape stores, we can do that, but again, we would have to flush it through the planning and zoning commission before it came back to city council.
Well, all right, I'm gonna be the one that's drafted this, so.
How hard can we make this one?
You guys are not clear enough on what we need in order to move forward. So what I would like to propose is we can bring back scenarios to you. You can then ruminate on those, give us some better direction, and then we would go through the process that Mrs. Turner just outlined.
See, I knew if I asked the right question to the right person, you'd jump up and volunteer.
That sounds a lot less work for me, so
Yeah.
I'm going for that.
We like that.
I wanted a field trip.
You can still do that.
Still take a field trip.
And again, we just need a consensus from the council at this point that you want us to start looking into it and expending Michael's time and my time and probably the city attorney.
How much?
I support it.
Thankfully, San Antonio's done a lot of the work for us, and it's kind of gone through and been tested, so we will utilize a lot of their data and then probably find some other examples as well.
So we don't need, this is not a vote or anything, just a consensus of the council for that.
And it's not a huge hurry. Right? It's not something I want
And
to
you
work
have to
over
remember,
Christmas.
it's not only changed the zoning ordinance, but, well, actually, we're just making a change to the smoking ordinance.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's why we need to flesh it out.
Sorry, let us flush it out. I just figured out an easier way to get it done.
Okay, that's why she won the award.
Sorry, one last comment. So, but to be clear, this won't affect any existing business in your
That is
city.
correct.
So this is, even if we do implement it, it's not a light switch.
That is correct.
Okay, so.
Which is why we're behind the ball.
Yeah.
Mr. Ball has comments.
I definitely do support Mayor Pro Tem's plan and the city's plan for this. I would simply recommend that we follow the leaders in this area and not try to invent too many restrictions that go against where the leaders are going to limit vape shops. The marijuana products are a different issue. But we don't have time. There's movement in the area. This is one case where I'll say I'd like to be a follower of existing protocols that have been approved somewhere in bigger cities. And again, I support Mayor Pro Tem and staff for that.
Any other comments? So we don't need anything else from us then, so we'll, at some future date, we'll have some proposals.
We'll work on it. It'll take us a little bit of time. We'll have to think it through and try to
Well,
figure out.
enjoy the holidays.
Yes.
Enjoy the holidays.
Very New Year.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, this is our last meeting for 2025. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I want to caveat that with the holiday greeting of your choice. Meeting adjourned at 8:08.
Happy Festivus. For the rest of us.
Yes.